2008. What a glorious year. For you, it was pain, panic, and foreclosure. For me, it was champagne, bonuses, and the sweet, sweet sound of chaos. Now sit back, my dear investor, taxpayer, victim, whatever you prefer to call yourself, and let Uncle Greed tell you a bedtime story. A fairy tale about how we built an empire on stupidity, sold it as genius, and somehow convinced the world to pay for our mistakes. Once upon a time, in the land of eternal growth, the early 2000s, we bankers had a problem. The dot-com bubble had popped, interest rates were low, and ordinary people were getting too cautious with their money. We needed something new to sell, something big, something shiny enough to make people forget that it didn't actually make sense. And then, like manna from heaven, came housing. Houses, my friend, are perfect. Everyone needs one. Everyone wants one. And best of all, people believe house prices only go up. You could literally see the dollar signs in their eyes. We saw it too, and we thought, let's turn this into a money printing machine. So we did. We started giving out mortgages, home loans to anyone with a pulse. Used to be, you needed a job, income, credit history, proof you could pay it back. But where's the fun in that? We decided those rules were old-fashioned. No job, no savings, no problem. Welcome to the American dream. We called them subprime loans. Subprime meaning financial garbage, but we don't like to use ugly words. And the beauty was, we didn't care if people could pay them back. Why? Because we weren't keeping the loans. See, the real magic wasn't in the lending, it was in the packaging. We took thousands of these risky loans and bundled them together. Then we sliced them up into fancy pieces, wrapped them in graphs, and called them mortgage-backed securities. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? It's basically financial sausage. No one knows what's inside, and you probably shouldn't ask. But here's the trick. We took this sausage, went to the rating agencies, the so-called referees of finance, and paid them to call it delicious. They gave us AAA ratings, the same grade as government bonds. Why? Because we asked nicely, and by nicely, I mean we paid them millions in fees. Then, we sold this safe junk to investors around the world. Pension funds, insurance companies, governments. They thought they were buying security. What they were really buying was a ticking bomb wrapped in a shiny ribbon. And business was booming. The more we sold, the more we wanted. But we needed more mortgages to feed the machine. So we dug deeper into the barrel. No income? No assets? No job? We literally called those ninja loans. It was meant as a joke, but the punchline was real. We were handing out million-dollar mortgages to people who couldn't afford a lawnmower, and the housing market loved it. Prices kept rising because demand kept rising. Everyone thought they were getting rich. Your neighbor bought a house and flipped it for profit. You bought too, because why not? You felt like a financial genius. And we were there, whispering in your ear, don't worry, you can always refinance later. House prices never fall. It was a feeding frenzy, fueled by greed, ignorance, and PowerPoint presentations. We created an illusion of wealth, and the world believed it. But then, like all great parties, someone turned on the lights. People started missing payments. A few at first, then more, then thousands. Turns out, when you give loans to people with no money, they don't pay them back. Who could have guessed? Suddenly, those beautiful mortgage-backed securities started to rot. Investors realized the safe assets they'd bought were full of garbage. Confidence collapsed. Banks stopped trusting each other. Liquidity, that sweet flow of money between institutions, dried up overnight. It was like a global game of musical chairs, and when the music stopped, everyone realized they were sitting on a pile of bad debt. Bear Stearns collapsed. Lehman Brothers, oh, that one still makes me smile, went bankrupt. Trillions of dollars vanished. Panic spread faster than the flu. Stock markets crashed, pensions evaporated, and housing prices plummeted. You lost your home, your job, your savings, And we lost a little dignity for about 5 minutes. Then came the best part. The government stepped in. They said, "The system is too big to fail." They bailed us out with your tax money. That's right. We wrecked the car, and you paid for the repairs. They called it a rescue package TARP. They said $700 billion to stabilize the system. What they really stabilized was our bonuses. Sure, a few executives resigned with golden parachutes big enough to buy a small country. A few bankers cried on TV about losing everything as they flew home in private jets. And we promised, cross our greedy little hearts, that we'd learned our lesson. Spoiler, we didn't. Because here's the truth, my dear listener. The system didn't break in 2008. It worked exactly as designed. We take the profits, and you take the losses. Heads, we win. Tails, you bail us out. You see, the financial world isn't about money. It's about power. Money is just the scoreboard. And when the scoreboard breaks, we make new rules. After 2008, regulators said they'd clean up the system. More oversight, more transparency. They promised. So we smiled, nodded, and hired their cousins. They made the rules. We found the loopholes. They raised the walls. We built taller ladders. And while you were still recovering from losing your home, we were already inventing the next bubble. Because we never stop. You call it greed. We call it innovation. People like to say, "But didn't anyone see it coming?" Oh, plenty did. Economists, journalists, even some of us. But we didn't want to stop the party, not while the champagne was still cold and the bonuses were still fat. You don't shout fire when you're holding the match and the insurance policy. And you wanted to believe. You wanted to believe you could get rich by flipping houses. You wanted to believe your 401k was growing forever. You wanted to believe we knew what we were doing, and we did, just not in your favor. 2008 was the year the curtain dropped. Everyone got to peek behind the magic show. The economy wasn't a market, it was a casino, and we were the dealers. The odds were never in your favor. And yet, after all the chaos, after all the foreclosures and bankruptcies and broken lives, we're still here, stronger than ever, bigger than before. Because power doesn't disappear, it consolidates. You call it corruption, we call it business as usual. They said we were too big to fail, so we got bigger. We merged, we absorbed, we became systemically important. Translation: you can't afford to let us die. And the people? You were angry for a while. You marched, you protested, you made documentaries. Then you got bored, and we got richer. The same cycle repeats, decade after decade. Greed, boom, bust, bailout, repeat. It's the most reliable investment strategy in history. Now let me be clear, I'm not the villain in this story. No, no, no. I'm the reflection. I'm what happens when a society worships wealth and calls it virtue. When success means taking as much as you can, as fast as you can, without asking who gets hurt. You built this world. We just learned to play it better. The financial crash of 2008 wasn't a bug, it was a feature. A perfectly engineered disaster. A wealth transfer disguised as an accident. And if you think we've changed since then, well, look around. The debt's higher, the risks are bigger, and the players? The same faces, just older and richer. You can regulate the markets, change the rules, hold hearings, write reports. But as long as greed is legal, we win. So remember this. Next time you see a headline about a market correction, or a liquidity crisis, or unprecedented volatility, those are just fancy ways of saying, we did it again, and we'll keep doing it. Because we know one thing, you still don't. Money isn't real, confidence is. And as long as you believe this system works, it does. Until it doesn't. Then we'll crash it again and smile while you clean up the mess. So sleep tight, my dear investor. Keep working hard. Keep saving. Keep trusting the system. Because when the next crash comes, and it will, we'll be waiting with our bonuses ready, our bailout bags packed, and our glasses raised to toast another beautiful disaster. Cheers.